Good morning, dear students. Today we will be starting chapter number 2 of history, that is the new kings and kingdoms. What happened? Many new dynasties emerged after the 7th century. Okay, so in this chapter we will be studying their dynasties, about the new kings, their kingdoms, their administration, and how they ruled during that era. First is emergence of new dynasties. What happened by the 7th century? There were big landlords or warrior chiefs in different regions of the subcontinent, and existing kings often acknowledged them as their samantas or subordinates, and initially the Rashtrakutas were subordinate to the Chalukyas of Karnataka. It means that landlords or warrior chiefs were acknowledged as samantas, okay, by the existing kings. So as the samantas gained wealth and power, they declared themselves to be Mahasamanta, okay, and even also asserted their independence also. And Rashtrakutas in the Deccan overthrew the Chalukyas of Karnataka. Next is they were expected to bring gifts for their kings or overlords, okay, to present at their courts and provide them with the military support. As Samantas gained power and wealth, they declared themselves to be Mahasamantas, I told you. And Mahamandaleshwara means of Mahamandaleshwara means the great lord of a circle or a region, okay, is known as Mahamandaleshwara. They also asserted their independence from their overlords. What happened? In some cases, men from enterprising families used military skills to build kingdoms. Okay, Brahmins like Kadamb, Mayushrashaman, and Harichandra took up arms and established kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan. Next is administration in the kingdoms. What happened? Many of these new kings adopted high sounding titles such as Maharaja Adhiraj, which means great king or overlord of kings, okay, meaning of Maharaja Adhiraj. Next is Tribhuvan Chakravartin, means lord of three world, and so on, means the you have to memorize this meaning of these words, okay. Maharaja Dhiraj means great king and overlords of king. Tribhuvan Chakravartin means lord of three worlds, and so on. However, in spite of such claims, they often shared power with their samantas as well as with association of peasants, traders, and brahmans. For it means that high sounding titles like Maharaja Dhiraj, Tribhuvan Chakravartin, and so were adopted by the new kings in order to portray their image. The king shared power with their samantas and with association of peasants, traders, and brahmans. Next is in each of these states, resources were obtained from producers, cattle keepers, artisans who were often persuaded or compelled to surrender part of what they produced. Means states obtained resources from the producers as rent due to a lord, okay. Revenue was also collected from the merchants. Next is sometimes they were claimed as rent due to a landlord who asserted that he owned the land, okay, and revenue was also collected from the traders. Next is these resources were used to finance the king's establishment, okay, as well as for the construction of temples and forts. They were also used to fight wars, which were in turn expected to lead to the acquisition of wealth in the form of plunder and access to land as well as the trade route. It means that the king used these resources to strengthen his kingdom, okay, and for construction of temples also, for making forts and to fight wars. After that, the functioning of collecting revenue was generally requited from influential families, okay, not from the average family but from the influential family. Those who were having power and positions were often hereditary. This was true about the army as well. In many cases, close relatives of the king held this kind of positions. Means revenue collectors were recruited from the influential families, not from the average families or the poor families. Those who had power, those were selected for the positions and were often hereditary.